there, it's Miss O'Kaylee. You're back with me for another chapter a night will help you sleep tight. We're reading A Fox Ate My Homework and we're on to chapter 4, which is titled Friday Night. And we're reading about this little boy who's new to town and just had a fox talk to him in his backyard. So, what's that about? It's gonna get cool, I think. So, chapter 4, Friday Night. Here we go. I jumped out of my sleep when I heard a ruckus outside. The room was dark, so I knew the sun had gone down. I looked at my watch and saw it was midnight. I only felt half awake and my back was killing me. I wished I could sleep on the floor, but that place had roaches that came out at night. I had heard them crunch under my feet when I woke up to use the bathroom the night before. They disappeared the moment I turned the lights on. I jumped again when a door banged shut from outside. The chicken coop. I suddenly realized I did forget to lock it. I hopped out of bed and shuddered every time I felt a crunch under my shoes. I walked down the hall and into the kitchen. My mom was nowhere to be found, and I didn't expect her to be. She was sound asleep. I grabbed a flashlight off the kitchen counter and walked out the back door and into the yard. The outhouse looked scary in the dark, like a haunted house. The moon that night was shaped like a trimmed fingernail and not giving off much light. I flicked the flashlight on and marched toward the chicken coop. I had to lock it before the chickens got out and put themselves in danger. I dropped the flashlight when it focused on two blue eyes. The fox was walking out of the chicken coop. I was happy to see him again, but what was he doing in there? You don't want to go in there for 10 to 15 minutes, the fox said, and you might want to light a candle. He waved a paw in front of his nose like something stank, and it did. The putrid odor made me feel sick. The fox was covered in something wet and slimy. I knew exactly what it was. Old Nellie, I whispered. The fox shook his head rapidly from side to side. The rotten egg yolks flew off of him in every direction. That crazy old chicken threw her eggs at me. She attacked me for no reason. I suspected old Nellie had her reasons. She had never thrown her eggs at me. Maybe she got nervous, I explained. You shouldn't be in there at night. The fox smiled and said, I like you, Jonah. I think we're going to be good friends. I couldn't help but smile back. It didn't feel weird talking to a fox. He was nice. Wait a second, I said. How did you know my name? And please, call me Joe. The fox turned and walked toward the fence area he had jumped over earlier that day. The other human with you yelled your name earlier. She said something about the outhouse. That made sense. Where are you going? I asked. I have so many things I want to ask you. The fox stopped walking and faced him. I need to get some dinner. He looked back at the chicken coop. I missed my last meal. He shook his head like he was disappointed. And there's a river down the road. I need to wash up. I had to agree with him on the last part. That's a good idea. You smell like farts. I huffed, crouched on all four paws, and raced out of the yard. He huffed. I locked the chicken coop and went back into the house. I felt a lot better after talking with the fox. I wondered how old he was, probably the same age as me, 11, maybe a year or two younger. And I wondered once again when I would see him next. He liked the chicken coop. I'd try to meet him there again tomorrow. I turned the kitchen and living room lights on. Not a roach in sight. I was wide awake now, and it was the perfect time to write my paper for school. I grabbed 2 sheets out of my backpack and a number 2 pencil. That was funny. Number 2 made me think of the outhouse. This kid. I titled the first page My Best Friend. There were only 3 paragraphs to go. I couldn't think of anything. Why was this so hard? I loved to write and could probably write a book. I could warm up by writing Shane's paper. I knew who his best friend was, and I could make everything else up. No, that was a horrible idea. I crumpled the second piece of paper and threw it in the trash. I didn't want to entertain the idea of writing Shane's paper for him, but still my life would be easier at school if I did, and I wouldn't have to walk the halls scared for my life. I gave up for the night and pulled out a magazine for boys. It had articles about nature and science. Maybe I'd write for that magazine one day. I fell out of my seat when something rapped on the kitchen window. My heart felt like it was going to explode. It thumped against my chest like it was trying to escape. I tried to ignore the noise in the kitchen, hoping it was only my imagination, but it happened again. There's no reason to be afraid. I took a few steps toward the kitchen and peered around the corner at the window. I didn't see anything. It had to be nothing more than a branch scraping against the window. It was windy outside. I nearly fainted when a small face pressed against the window. Once I caught my breath, I realized it was the fox. He laughed, stuck his tongue out at me, and pointed a paw toward the front door. Was he asking to come in? He disappeared from the window as quickly as he had appeared. I scratched my head and walked to the front door. I had misunderstood him. Why would a fox want to come inside? I opened the door to find the fox standing there smiling. Did you miss me? He asked. He walked right past me and into the house. I've never been inside a human's den. I sighed and closed the door. It was pretty awesome to have him there. Thankfully, he didn't smell like farts anymore. He was used to being outside, and I had to lay down some rules. Just make sure you don't pee on the carpet, I warned him. He jumped on the couch and sat up in the corner. I won't if you won't. I laughed and sat on the couch with him. It's a shame I won't be here much longer. You're the coolest animal I've ever met. He narrowed his eyes. What do you mean? We can't stay here, I confided in him. We don't have enough money. We're leaving in a few days to stay with my Uncle Mike. Why was I telling him this? The fox looked confused. I don't know what that means, but in my neck of the woods, if you don't have enough of something, then you work as hard as you have to until you do have it. He was a fox, so I didn't expect him to understand. I'm a kid, I told him. I don't have a way to make money. He huffed and pointed with one of his black paws to the magazine I was reading earlier. It was upside down on the floor. What about that? I threw my hands up. What about it? The fox jumped off the couch, grabbed the magazine, and handed it to me. Those kids like they're getting enough of what they want. What kids was he talking about? I studied the back of the magazine. I saw exactly what he meant, and I knew he was right. The kids in the picture had fistfuls of dollars and were surrounded by toys. They got all of that by selling candy the company in the advertisement gave them. My mom won't let me do it, I told him. I wanted to sell the candy before, but my mom said no. She didn't want me going door to door and meeting strangers. She said it wasn't safe. I tried to argue with her, but she was right. Meeting new people was too scary. The other human, the fox asked. I nodded. If this could help you get enough of what you need, then I don't understand why it's a problem. He was making too much sense. I couldn't make enough money selling candy to pay for the house, but I could make enough to help get it back for my mom. I went to the laptop computer my mom had set up in the corner of the room. It was already connected to the internet. I typed in the web address on the back of the magazine. The website was filled with pictures of money and prizes. I felt excited and confident about this. If those kids on the website could make a lot of money, then so could I. I whipped my wallet out of my backpack pocket, and when the website asked for a credit card, I don't have my own credit card, but my mom had given me one of hers for emergencies only. This was definitely an emergency. I'm going to do it. I turned and told the fox, I'm going to get a box of candy and make a lot of money to help my mom. Sounds like a good idea, he said, but if one box can get you all of that, he was pointing to the money and prizes on the screen, then imagine what you could do with 2 boxes. I agreed with him and changed the quantity to 2. We needed the money as soon as possible, so I opted to pay extra for overnight shipping. I'm glad you're here, Fox, I admitted to him. I think we'll be good friends. His blue eyes glowed brighter and his tail wagged. It's time for me to go home, Joe. He walked to the front door on his own 2 legs and waited for me to open it. Will I see you again? I asked as I opened the door and let him out. He rubbed his chin. It depends. It depends on what? I wondered aloud. He took a step back. It depends on if you take a bath or not. You're the one who smells like farts now. I smelled my armpits. I didn't smell anything. I wanted to ask him what he was talking about, but he ran off laughing. Made you smell your armpits. Silly fox. I hope you enjoyed. Hope you sleep well.